Mediators are trying to reach a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Israel says if the group rejects its latest offer, it'll go ahead with a ground invasion of Rafah, where more than 1.5 million Palestinians are sheltering. Let's cross over to occupied East Jerusalem. Bernard Smith is standing by for us there. Bernard, where are these ceasefire talks right now?
So we know that Hamas has said it will send a delegation to Cairo on Monday, and that delegation will discuss the ceasefire proposal. It was presented by Qatar and Egypt, as well as Israel's response. And we know that Hamas said on Friday that it had received Israel's response to the ceasefire proposal and was studying it. Since then, Hamas has released videos showing proof of life of 3 of the captives in the last few days, stepping up the pressure on the Israeli government headed by Benjamin Netanyahu. But we know that previous ceasefire talks have floundered because of the failure to bridge the gap between the two sides. That gap being that Hamas is insisting on an end to the war and a withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza, and Israel has only ever been offering a temporary ceasefire in return for the release of about 130-odd captives and more humanitarian aid getting into Gaza. Israel refusing to fully withdraw because it hasn't yet achieved its objectives, according to Benjamin Netanyahu, and that is the destruction of Hamas, the destruction of its ability to attack Israel. So,
while the Israeli government might be trying to put pressure on the Palestinians, the Israeli government itself is under pressure, not just from the US and various global capitals trying to make sure that it doesn't go into Rafah, but also pressure from another direction within the Israeli cabinet itself. Prime Minister Netanyahu really does have his hands full.
Yeah, well, he's under enormous pressure from different sides of his cabinet, really. From the far right, we've had Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister, saying that if Netanyahu agrees to Egypt's proposals, that would constitute a humiliating defeat. We, though, don't know what those Egyptian proposals are. And also Itamar Ben-Gvir, another far-right minister, saying that if Netanyahu agrees to whatever these proposals are, it would lead to the dissolution of the government. But then, from a member of his war cabinet, the centre-right Benny Gantz, he says an invasion or an operation in Rafah is important, but the return of hostages is more important. There have been regular protests in Israel against Netanyahu, accusing him of prolonging the war, because if he ends the war, then that will lead to elections ultimately and his own reckoning at the ballot box. So accusations he's prolonging the war and not considering the hostages, while there's enormous pressure from the far right to go into Rafah regardless of what might happen to those hostages.
Bernard Smith there for us in occupied East Jerusalem. Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.